Yayo. Yayo, Yayo. Uh-oh. His name is Luffy. Monkey D's nuts, Luffy. Oh, great start. Y'all know that I've been hyper fixated with One Piece for the past year, in case you couldn't tell with me constantly bringing it up within streams. I'm gonna try to be quick about this, because we're probably gonna have a long stream ahead of us today. So, for obvious reasons, we're not gonna be ranking Egghead. It's not finished yet, so I don't think that it would be fair to do so. However, if I were to rank it, from what I've read so far, it'd probably be around like A or S. It's been very good so far.
And you, all bark, no bite. Woof, woof, woof.
Romance Dawn. I think right off the bat, I want to give Romance Dawn an A. And I know it's literally the first arc of the entire story, and it's one of the shortest ones. We got our boy Luffy. I love him. He is my funny little scrungle. He's just such like a charming main character, and I love his chemistry with Zoro, just fucking bribing him into joining his crew. Like, hey, if you want me to free you from prison and take all your swords back, I'll let you join my crew. And he's like, all right, finna bet, and then proceeds to beat the shit out of every Marine. Luffy's flashback, which establishes so many things like right off the bat, and not even just like the normal stuff like, oh, here's how Luffy got his powers from the gum fruit, here's how Luffy got his hat. In the scene where Shanks like scares off the sea beast, he's using haki like 400 chapters before we even know what haki even is, and I don't even know if that was like planned or not. That's fucking cool as shit. I love that. It's such like a crucial thing for later on, because like, hey, Luffy's eventually gonna be able to do this too. That's fucking cool. And also we got Zoro's backstory. Very sad, very tragic. His best friend fought a staircase and lost. Kuna versus Downty Stair. Romance Dawn, A tier. I think it's like a solid, short little arc. That's a great start to the series. It's very short. It's just like a solid little story. I feel like A is like good enough to start with. Now, Orange Town has Buggy the Clown, and Buggy the Clown is epic. And of course, it's Nami's proper introduction, and I love Nami. Nami is a queen. I think B fits. B for Buggy. Buggy is great. He's a girl failure. We love him. He has the most character development. No, he doesn't get character development. He just keeps failing, but somehow getting more and more successful. Like, even he doesn't even know how he got to where he is. A lot of people want to honk this clown's nose. And yes, that does mean what you think it means. Syrup Village. It features my boy, Usopp. God Usopp, the king. I know a lot of people tend to say like, oh, Usopp's not very good right now, but he gets better in the anime. No, dude. I loved Usopp from the start. Usopp only really lies to like help people in a weird way. And I love his and Kai's like relationship. I think that they were adorable together. And I was like so happy for like the live action version where they actually kissed on screen. I was like, yes, 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 deserved. This was deserved. I think this deserves to sit around at A tier. Like, just below Romance Dawn, I think. Yeah, Clawhador's plans don't really make all that much sense, especially in the live-action version. And he's not all that, like, memorable in the grand scheme of One Piece. Like, I don't think he's ever been brought up since the Syrup Village arc. Baratie, the Sanji arc. Sanji's introduction, and one of the arcs where he is the most likable, because he's actually kind of cool in this arc. Now, the villain, Don Krieg, is really boring, but his second in command, I think, he was way more interesting than his captain, and I don't know if that's like a bad sign or not. Sanji might be my least favorite, but in this arc, he was great. You know, he was solid. And I love his backstory a lot. And also, yeah, it had Zoro versus Mihawk. That was like a perfect highlight. That's why I can't put it anywhere like less than A tier. I just can't. It has Zoro versus Mihawk. Like, how can an arc with that be any less than A? Do I think it's better than Romance Dawn? I'm gonna make it below Romance Dawn just because like the villain sucks. Do I even need to talk about Arlong Park? It belongs in S. Like, no shit, it belongs in S tier. I don't think anybody here is gonna argue with this. It's Arlong Park. It's Nami's arc. Nami's backstory with Bellamere made me cry like a bitch when I first like watched it. When I was like, what, 14? Like 14 and like just like starting One Piece, having like no knowledge of what Nami's story was. And it just like fucking like broke me, man. When she finally asked Luffy for help and gives her the straw hat. And the best part about that scene is Luffy doesn't know shit about Nami's situation in the manga or the anime. But what's like really important is that he didn't need to know. And I feel like that's what makes like Luffy such a perfect protagonist for me. Arlong is great. He's a great intimidating villain. And I feel like Fishman Island, regardless of how I feel about that arc, and we will get to it, it kind of puts like the things that he does into perspective a little bit. It doesn't make me like forgive him for any of the shit that he's done. He enslaved an entire village and basically made Nami a slave. You kind of get why he turned out the way that he did. Arlong Park is definitely one of my favorite arcs of all time. I think we're done talking about Arlong Park. It's peak. Now we're getting to Logue Town. Logue Town's alright. You know, we get like some cool things here. Like we get Zoro's cursed sword. Buggy shows up and he's epic. I like Smokey. I feel like he's one of the only like good Marines in terms of like, you know, character development, I guess. Oh yeah, and also Luffy's dad shows up, but we don't know it's Luffy's dad yet. He's still yet to do all that much, really. I don't want to put it in like C because I feel like that might be calling it like bad, but it's like also just okay. But yeah, I think Logue Town is like just okay. It's like a small little like setup arc that's like very nice. Reverse Mountain, I feel also kind of the same towards. It does set up quite a few things like Laboon. And I think, was this the arc that introduced Vivi? I think it was. Yeah, and she was like a Team Rocket villain, and it was great. Yeah, this sets up like Laboon, the whale, who turns out to be very important later down the line. But other than that, it's not bad. It just doesn't have a whole lot going on for me. Whiskey Peak, I feel like, is also just kind of okay. So this is where the actual like plot kicks off for the Alabasta saga. And then, you know, it's just like short and it's all right. I think the one thing that makes me put this at like the bottom of C right now is I thought that the Luffy versus Zoro fight over a misunderstanding was really dumb and was not necessary. And it feels like it was just played out. It's like a little tease for, ooh, what if Zoro and Luffy like fought? Like who would win? You know, like that kind of thing. And like, if you're gonna do it, don't put over the dumbest reason. Cause like Luffy would not trust some random dude over Zoro. That just does not make sense to me.
Luffy! It's good to see you, buddy. Luffy!
Hold up, put that higher. Zoro had so much fun. Oh yeah, that is true. It did have a good excuse to see Zoro just kicking people's asses. He like soloed almost the entirety of like every agent in Baroque works there. Except for Booger Man and what was her name? Miss Valentine? Oh, that's right. It also introduced my wife, Miss All Sunday, Nico Robin. So I feel like this should be at the top of B tier at best. Little Garden. I like Little Garden. I feel like a lot of people rate this a lot lower than it probably should be. It's got some cool character growth for my boy Usopp, being inspired by the Giants, which is great. It sets up a lot of stuff like later on. I really hope it sets up some stuff for when they go to Elbaf. Drum Island. I think Drum Island deserves. I'm tempted. I don't know if it should be an S. I kinda want to because I love Chopper. I kinda want to, but at the same time, I kinda want to give it an A because I don't think that that Wapol is that good of a villain. He's just kind of like the Wario of One Piece villains. He's just a big old stinky man. And Chopper's backstory. This poor fucker's his misunderstanding of his mentor, Dr. Hiruluk. I think that was his name. Like the pirate flag, the skull is a symbol that anything is possible. And he just interprets that as like, oh, this skull and crossbones on this like ingredient is healthy. And it accidentally poisons him. Well, he was gonna die anyway. You know what? Top of A for now. For now. I think I might change my mind.
Doctor. Tony Chopper.
Yes. Now we start kicking into Alabasta. I don't know if I want to put it above Arlong Park, but I know for a fact that Alabasta deserves to be an S. This is what I feel like the start of what One Piece would become. This arc felt like big. Obviously, there's like way longer arcs. Some of them are too long, but this felt like the first like big one. Crocodile is basically the Sandman from Spider-Man, but if he was a mafia boss trying to take over an entire kingdom via manipulating the people, getting them to like kill each other while pretending to be their hero. He is super cool. I love him. And I love that all of like the Straw Hats get their own fights against the numbered agents. Oh, and I forgot Bon Clay. I'll be real with y'all. I did not like Bon Clay at first. I had to grow to love him like everyone else did. This was a very, very poor visual representation of gay people back in the early 2000s. But despite that, he actually turns out to be pretty fucking cool. He's got a great personality. And of course, at the very end, we have my wife, Nico Robin, joining the team after Vivi's goodbye. And man, oh my god, the goodbye. I knew that Vivi wasn't going to be part of the crew, but I really wanted her to be after all that happened. I can't believe that Navi had to leave her girlfriend behind. Yeah, it's a sad day for the Yuri. Real sad day. Oh yeah, it also the arc that introduced Ace. How can I almost forget to bring that up? Ace is like, was like the coolest motherfucker. You know what? Yeah, just because it has like a lot going on. I've been rambling about Alabasta for long enough, I think. At the top of S tier. So far, Jaya. Jaya is just okay. No, wait. Actually, it's a little bit better okay, because there's some things that it sets up like really well. Like, it's a setup arc for Skypia, which like by itself, it's not all that like eventful. I mean, there's like the bar fight with Bellamy, the spring dude, and that's cool and all. But I think what kind of makes me want to like change this from like C to like B is that it introduces Blackbeard in the most casual way possible. That makes it like turn your head and be like, wait, hold the fuck up, this dude's Blackbeard? The dude who's set up to be like the final villain of the series is introduced when he and Luffy get an argument over a cherry pie tasting bad. I think for that alone, this gets it up to like B tier. But obviously, there's like more stuff going on with it too than just that. You know, we got the setup for Skypia, the story of Nolan the Liar, and how that's like foreshadowing for the story of Skypia. And speaking of which, Skypia, I know a lot of people don't like this one, but I kinda wanna give it an A. I think it's a little better than some people give it credit for. I'll admit, this one does feel a little long, which is an understatement considering the other arcs up ahead. But I think Eneru is like a really cool villain, and I like how like Luffy's literally the only one that could possibly fight this dude because he's made of rubber, and the dude has never heard of rubber before. Also has Robin's first solo fight, and I thought that like that was pretty good because Robin is a girl boss and I love her. This is my wife. I don't want to fix her. I want to make her worse. I think Skypia might be at like the bottom of A tier. Maybe actually, maybe like above Romance Dawn, but below Syrup Village. Because like Syrup Village made me like feel a lot more things. Oh yeah, the Mary, it was like the mask had broken off because of Chopper's fight with like one of the Eneru's like angel dudes. But it like mysteriously fixed itself, and then like nobody really questioned it except for Usopp. Usopp was the only one who was like mildly curious of like, hey, how did it fix itself? Like that's kind of weird. Wonder if that's gonna get expanded upon later. Wiggles eyebrows. Oh, the dials were cool. And that was an amazing meal that genuinely scared the shit out of me. Yeah, Slim Shady. The Slim Shady dude. And for everyone asking like, well, why do you call him Slim Shady?
Damn, Daniel!
Alright, now for, I think, our first and maybe only real stinker in this entire list. Oh yeah, actually, before we get to that, shout out to the G8 filler arc from the anime. That was actually like really charming and fun. As much as it was blatantly filler, it was actually like really cool, and I kind of wish it was a real arc over this one, because Long Ring Long Land kinda stinks. It's especially worse in the anime because they drag out the Davy back fight for another 3 rounds before they actually get to the point. It's not supposed to be that long. I think that the Foxy Pirates are like fun villains in theory. They're kind of like Team Rocket-ish, where they're not like real villains, they're just dudes that kind of get in the way. But like the Davy back fights with like the blatant cheating, it kind of pissed me off the entire time. It did give us Afro Luffy, which is possibly the best thing about that arc because it's glorious, but I don't think that's enough to make it any higher than D. I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world, but I feel like if people skip this arc, I would not blame them. Although it does have like one cool thing, and it's at the very, very end when Kuzan shows up out of fucking nowhere on his weird like water bike thing and turns Luffy into a popsicle. And it made me think, oh shit, this is how strong one of the 3 admirals are. Oh dear god.
Monther didn't like it, so Monther must hate it with all passion.
No, I wouldn't say that I hate Long Ring Long Land. I just think it's definitely the weakest of any One Piece arc that I've ever watched. I don't recommend skipping any One Piece arc ever, but I think like if you were to do this one, I would not blame you. I would absolutely not blame you. But immediately, right after Long Ring Long Land, one of the worst arcs, you get immediately the best arc of all time. Water 7. There are no words to describe how good Water 7 is. Where do I even begin? Actually, where do I even begin with Water 7? It's one of the coolest settings for like a city that's entirely centered around water. Yeah, I love Frankie. Frankie, my boy, my super boy. I love him and his blue hair and his pronouns. And he was actually like pretty intimidating at like the start of the arc too, when he like robbed Usopp of the money that was supposed to be used to repair the Mary, which is not in very good shape at this point. It's on the verge of like breaking, and that is what starts the whole internal conflict between Luffy and Usopp, which hurt me emotionally when they got into like arguments that felt like real arguments, like between friends. You just think that like, oh, if Luffy's going to replace the Mary, he's gonna replace me too because I'm weak. Like for all the people that like don't like Usopp because he's like weak or whatever, like this is his highlight arc. Like the Mary was like his baby. Like no one else like really took care of the ship as much as he did. Even if he didn't do like a good job, he's not a shipwright. But like, hey, if something is wrong with the Mary, he'll try to fix it. But it's the sort of like him and like Luffy fighting. It emotionally destroyed me when like Usopp left the Straw Hats. But this isn't even all that happens in Water 7. It's just like the main highlight. Robin also leaves because of CP9. The whole like CP9 twist of, oh, who is trying to kill the president of the shipwright crew turns out to be the people that work at the shipwrights. Yeah, it turns out they're CP9, and guess what? We're taking in Robin because, you know, she's actually a criminal that's worth like
79
million berry. She only went with CP9 to like protect the Straw Hat crew. Like she actually like grew to like them, but is only going on with CP9 to protect them. Let him drag her over to Enies Lobby, which is also an S tier and somehow better than Water 7. And of course, what makes Enies Lobby the best one is that it has Soga King, the goat. Soga King.
Oh my god, he's so goddamn cool!
It really sucks that Usopp couldn't really be part of the arc, but luckily his good friend Soga King took up after him. And his lobby is perfect. Robin's I Want to Live scene, when the Straw Hats deliberately challenge the world government by burning their flag to show Robin, you'll be safe with us. Tell us that you want to live. Fucking shivers. I still cry at this scene. Me too.
That changed my life.
Robin's backstory is easily the best one out of any character. Not even just like the Straw Hats. Of any character. This little girl genocide survivor with like a 20 million berry bounty, or even more than that. I always forget how much she's actually worth. Her entire island just gone. Wiped from the map just because her people were studying a weapon. Not wanting to use it, just wanting to like figure out what it was. And the world government didn't like that, so used a buster call, wipe out an entire race. As you do. I like that like every Straw Hat got their own fight. It was really cool. Like again, Nami getting her own solo fight against the Soap Lady while also being just a little fruity. Which is like, oh damn, what a sexy piece of ass. Wait a minute, I'm starting to talk like an old man. Like, Nami, I know what you are. I know what you are, Nami. And she uses her climate tech in like the most creative way possible by making Mirage clones of herself. And she never does that again. And I'm like, why has she never done that? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Behold, I have been reborn. The giraffe guy.
I don't want to hear it anymore. For the last time, giraffes are awesome. I love giraffes.
Oh yeah, Monster Chopper was peak, and sadly, it's the coolest that Chopper has ever been, and he hasn't really gotten much better since. Not that that I dislike Chopper or anything. He just hasn't done anything cooler since Monster Point Chopper.
Wow, I wonder what's next for me.
You peaked.
What?
You peaked.
You're kidding! After all that?
Yeah, sorry.
But I get stronger though, right?
Yeah, but no.
Oh.
But this is also the arc that introduced Luffy Gear 2 and Gear 3. And I was like stunned seeing Luffy start to fight like a Dragon Ball character with Gear 2. The Luffy versus Lucci fight is one of the best in the entire series. It's so well done. It's amazing. And of course, the Mary's funeral made me cry like an actual bitch when I first saw that, because I knew that the Mary was done for. I knew that the Mary was gone, because like otherwise how would they get this other cool new ship that they got? Here's the thing, I will get sad during some pieces of media, but I won't cry, you know? I just don't cry very often. But man, it made me sob, like actual cry. I think Enies Lobby might be the top of the tier list, and I don't know if any of these arcs will budge Enies Lobby from the top spot. Like, I'm torn between Enies Lobby and Water 7, but Enies Lobby just beats it by like a hair. It's just that good. And then post Enies Lobby, we get a lot of cool stuff in post Enies Lobby. The rest of the Straw Hats actually get their wanted posters for the first time, which is really cool. And of course it starts the gag that Chopper's posters are always like way too low. Like his first bounty was like 100 berry. He deserves so much more. My boy Chopper was disrespected. Oh yeah, and fucking Garp shows up, and that's like the big reveal that he's actually Luffy's grandpa. Monkey D. Dragon being Luffy's dad. Still kind of wish that like Dragon still did more stuff on screen to be a little bit more relevant. I guess like now in Egghead Island he kind of is, but I don't feel all that strongly about Dragon as a character. I want to, because it's Luffy's dad. He should feel a bit more important than he actually does, but maybe he does in Egghead Island. I don't know quite yet. Kobe has like the glow up of the century out of like nowhere, even before the time skip. Wait, hold on. Like, this is how he looks like before the time skip happens. To give contrast, this is what he looks like at the start. Before the 2-year time skip happens, it goes from this to this. And I was like, what? How the fuck did that happen?
How many push-ups did he do? How many sit-ups? What kind of juice did he drink?
Yeah, this is basically what like the arc is, like, you know, Garp showing up, Kobe showing up, and also Usopp's apology, which was also a bit of like a tearjerker, you know, like begging for him to be let back into the Straw Hats. I think I want to put post Enies Lobby around like A, I guess, just because, you know, it's like the epilogue of Water 7. I don't know if I should like include it with like Enies Lobby and Water 7 as like a package deal. I don't know, just because of like, yeah, it's just like the ending. Certainly not like B. I think like the reveals that we got were like really good. Now we dive into Thriller Bark, and I feel really mixed on this one. I love the aesthetic and settings of it. It's spooky themed. I thought it was like really cool. It was just like Halloween Town. My boy Brook, I love Brook. Brook kind of prevents this from being like a D tier, or maybe even like a C tier. I feel like it belongs maybe like around B. And the reason why it's not going to like A tier or anything so far is because Gecko Moria is just kind of eh. For like one of the 7 warlords, I really don't remember him doing a whole lot. Thriller Bark is amazing up until halfway through the Ors fight. Yeah, that, and the reason why I don't want to put this too high is because of Absalom, the dude that used the invisible fruit to essentially molest Nami in the shower room. That was a very yikes moment. And this is where I started to like actually kind of hate Sanji, because Sanji is upset not because of, you know, for like any like legit reason to be upset at Absalom, but because he stole the devil fruit that he wanted to peep on girls. And, that made me hate Sanji so goddamn much. But this arc also had a lot of good things going towards it too. I loved Usopp versus Perona. Like, the fact that, that Perona's ghosts don't affect him is because he's already depressed. He wins via the power of depression. And it's also the last appearance of Soga King, as far as I remember. There was Nightmare Luffy, which was pretty cool. Brooks's backstory with Laboon. Hey, you folks remember Laboon from Reverse Mountain? Well, he's relevant now, and he's part of Brooks' backstory. Which, like, you know, congrats to Oda for playing the long game for that one. The scene where a zombie pops out of the grave, and Luffy just sees the zombie. He's just like, huh, that's not right. It pushes him back down. That was fucking comedy gold. I loved that. At the very end of the arc, right after they beat up Gecko Moria, they're all like exhausted from beating up a giant. And then fucking Kuma shows up, a warlord that's probably even stronger than Moria was, just wipes the floor with all of them. The nothing happened moment. That was peak. I don't know if I want to put it in C. Maybe I like the top of C. I feel like it's more comfortable there. With that out of the way, Sabaody Archipelago. This is a really good one. So this is the arc where Luffy punches a slave owner, and it's the most satisfying punch in all of anime, and nothing will ever compare to it. Celestial Dragons are the fucking worst. They're just like the 1% slave owners. Oh yeah, it also introduces the pirates that would later be the worst generation. You got Law and Kid and Bonnie and the castle guy, music guy. Yeah, can you tell I don't actually remember most of them? Can you tell? Everything going completely wrong by the end, and starting what I like to call Luffy's trauma arc, when all of his like crewmates disappear one by one right in front of his eyes from Kuma showing up. I was not emotionally prepared to see Luffy break down and cry. And God, I kind of want to put Sabaody in S for that, or like at the top of A. Maybe the top of A. I don't know about S. I don't know about S. And yeah, this is the beginning of Luffy's solo trauma arc, because from this point on, for the next few arcs, Luffy is essentially by himself. Amazon Lily. It has the introduction of girl boss Boa Hancock. And I love Boa Hancock. I love how she's like so dramatically over the top and evil to the point where she kicks a puppy. Yeah, it turns out that she was also like a slave for the Celestial Dragons, and that's kind of why that she is the way that she is. And she's not doing it because, you know, she's necessarily a bad person. She just does not want to look weak in front of anyone, ever. Luffy's just by himself. He doesn't have any of his crewmates to like help him do anything, and it's a perfect demonstration for why Luffy needs his crew in the first place. Luffy can't navigate. Luffy doesn't know where the fuck he's going. He can't make a ship to get off the island, wherever he is. He can't cook the mushrooms or assume that they're just not poisonous because he doesn't have Sanji or Chopper. Like, it's a perfect illustration of like why Luffy needs his crew. Yeah, Amazon Lily is like really good. I think about like, I don't know about A tier, but maybe like high B tier, like at the top. Impel Down. So yeah, what I said about earlier with like Luffy being on his own, he's got to make some new friends because he doesn't have his old ones to go on this rescue mission for Ace at the bottom of Impel Down. While I felt like it was a little drawn out at times with like the different layers of hell, which they call each floor of the prison. Like, oh, this one is full of ice that's spiky, and then this one, everything is just on fire, and then this one is a dry desert and there is no food and you will die of starvation. That wasn't the stuff that really interested me. The stuff that interested me was Buggy, Mr. 3, and Bon Clay all essentially helping out Luffy throughout like each floor, especially Bon Clay. Bon Clay was the GOAT. Bon Clay gets like the redemption arc of the century. Oh yeah, also Crocodile shows up at the end of the arc, and I was genuinely not expecting that, let alone him helping Luffy break out of the prison, because, you know, he definitely has like interior motives. The game theory that Crocodile's probably trans, because Iva, the dude with the power to literally change people's genders, implies that Crocodile has like a secret that he does not want to share with anyone. Yeah, he's trans as fuck. Oh yeah, it also has Jinbei's first appearance, and Jinbei is cool. That's kind of all I had to say about Jinbei, because he really didn't do all that much in Impel Down. I think Impel Down, while a bit long, I think it's comfortably at A, which leads us to Marineford. I mean, God, where do I even start with this? Whitebeard became one of my favorite characters in like the short amount of time that we actually had him on screen. Like, I knew that he was gonna be like a big deal when they first showed him off, but I didn't expect him to be like this loving father figure towards all of his crewmates. Oh yeah, and also he gave us this meme.
Dude, check the news. It doesn't matter what channel.
The One Piece! The One Piece is real!
This big fucking war, all of this just to save Ace, who in the end still ends up dying because he protects Luffy from the magma dude who turns into a fucking donut. And I knew that Ace was going to die because, you know, spoilers from years ago. Ace dying did not make me cry. Luffy completely breaking did. I kind of want to put Marineford at like the top of S, but I still love Enies Lobby and Water 7 a little bit more, so I don't know. I genuinely don't know if I could put Marineford any higher than this. Just like Shanks just coming in at the end, just being like,
No fucking fighting!
But yeah, Marineford, it's an S. It's an easy S. Of course it is. Alright, post-war. Luffy's backstory was great. You know, his past with Ace and Sabo, I really liked seeing it. Although, I feel like we should have gotten them before Ace died. You know, it's like seeing what his life was like after we know that he's dead. It kind of like lessens like the impact of all the stuff that they're saying, like, oh, I'll never die on you, Luffy. Like, well, clearly you did. So, but like, I still really liked that we got to see more of like Luffy's past. And of course, you get to see what everyone else is doing while they're like separated from Luffy. And you see how like, okay, you know what? We gotta get ready for the new world. We just have to. We're not ready as we are right now. And like, yeah, he decides to take under Rayleigh's wing to like learn hockey. First sent out a message that only Scrimmage would understand. Instead of meeting up at Sabaody in 3 days, instead we meet in 2 years, and that's where the time skip starts. And I was like, oh, that's how it starts. Yeah, like Jinbei bringing Luffy back to reality.
お前にまだ残っておるものは何じゃ?
And I really like that. I don't know if I want to put this in like A? Maybe like the bottom of A. I think post-war is like really good. Again, I just have like the minor complaint over, it's more of like a nitpick really, of having more Ace story after he dies in the flashback. I was like, you know, probably could have done that before so I could feel like a little better. Alright, so then I took a break for that, and then finally get to return to Sabaody. You know, that's like a B. You know, we get to see everybody come back, reunited, all the way to Sabaody again. And it has some really hit or miss post-time skip designs. I mean, like, thank God that everyone gets, like, different outfit changes for every arc, because some designs post-time skip are really not that good, particularly Frankie. And they also got rid of Robin's tan. I hated that. They made her ghostly pale. I miss her tan, goddammit. I don't care if it's controversial or not. I want to like this design, but they made her, like, so, like, white when her, like... her skin tone was fine just the way that it was. Why did you change it like that, you cowards? I don't care if it was like a color mishap in the manga. I don't care if it was a coloring mistake. Change it the way it was, cowards. Oh, but yeah, that's all I really have to say about Sabaody. It's alright. It's really not that much of an arc, really. It's just like, yeah, the Straw Bats are back, and they're way stronger now. It's not bad. It's not bad by any means. So maybe like the top of C. Alright, now we're getting to another arc, which Fishman Island. This was an arc that they were hyping up for a while, but I don't know if I feel all that strongly about it. I don't know if it's like the worst arc, like some people say. I know a lot of people don't really like this arc, and I don't think it's honestly that bad. Really, the worst thing about it is the way that Sanji acts the entire time. Like, God, it was just the worst. Also, like that wet hair caribou guy that was kidnapping mermaids, that wasn't very cool. Wasn't a whole big fan of that. Yeah, and it just like, you know, the Fishman racism. Fishman racism is essentially the entire arc. And like, I don't know, once again, I don't know if Fishman Island really tackles that subject all that well. like, I could definitely see what Oda was trying to do, but I don't think it was handled like that poorly. Like, I think like the prejudice between fishmen and humans was really interesting to read into. And again, if it gave some cool perspective on like what Arlong was like before Arlong Park happened, and it introduced Koala in that flashback. And I thought it was like pretty cool how they actually like brought her back to be like one of the rebels under Dragon. And I thought that was cool. Yeah, it just mostly feels like an arc to show off how much like the Straw Hats have powered up over the past 2 years. Sanji's skywalk, which he learned from running away from gay people, which was kind of cringe. I really don't get how Oda made like really cool queer representation with Impel Down, but then also have Sanji running away from people to drag. I think I want to keep it at like the bottom of C. I don't think it really belongs in D. It's very close. It's very close. And that's why it's at the bottom of C. In the bottom of the C, if you will. But yeah, I don't really have that much to say about Fishman. Oh, it has like the worst fucking villain with Van Deckerman, I think it was. Was that his name? I don't fucking remember. The dude who like targeted Shirahoshi, the mermaid princess, ever since that she was like 5 years old, trying to marry her. Why did he have to? I know that he's a villain. He's not supposed to be anything but a creep. But why did he have to be that much of a creep the entire time? I hated it. I hated it with every fiber of my being. Whenever he was on screen, I hated it. Oh yeah, but this was also the arc that started the foreshadow of Joy Boy, which was really intriguing. You know, that stuff is cool and all, but I still think that this belongs at the bottom of the sea. Not a very good sign for post-time skip so far. Punk Hazard, it's okay. You know, I wasn't feeling all too crazy about it when I was watching it. I don't get how the fuck anyone in Caesar Clown's crew ended up trusting anything that he said, because he was very clearly evil the entire time. Yeah, it kind of makes him like a pretty good, like, hateable villain that you're clearly supposed to hate. I thought the setting idea was pretty cool, how, like, half of it was fire and half of it was ice, but I don't think it was really utilized all that much, really, because, like, most of it is just spent running away from a giant poisonous sludge monster. I mean, of course, there's also, like, Law. Law is really cool. He's a little girly pop. He did, like, the weird, like, body swap thing with the Straw Hat. I don't know why he did that, but he just kind of made, like, some excuse for Sanji to do some stupid shit while he was in Nami's body, and that shit was real annoying. There was also the Yeti brothers. Do you remember them? No, me neither. Nobody remembers the Yeti brothers. I like how Smoker and Tashigi showed up to help out the Straw Hat crew. Like, they were essentially forced to work together to take down Caesar and get out of the lab alive. I thought the lady with the snow fruit was cool. Haha, pun intended. Haha. Also, Kinemon and Mononosuke were introduced at this point, and I didn't really care for them that much at this point of the story, but their whole thing wasn't really made all that clear yet. Dressrosa. There's a lot of good shit that I like in this. A lot of good shit. Dressrosa, a lot of people say that it's like way too long, and I kind of agree that it does have this weird bloated problem that a lot of these arcs would have going forward, especially with Wano. It feels like it's especially bloated with so much stuff going on, but it's still good stuff. Like, I think Doflamingo is like probably like the best villain, because turns out Doflamingo is actually an ex-celestial dragon, and his backstory, he went through some like traumatic shit as a kid, but I love that despite that, he and his brother Corazon, I really like his backstory with Law, but they both came out of like the situation that they did as completely different people, where Corazon actually wanted to like help people. Doflamingo just wanted to be a piece of shit and actually go back to the status quo of being a slave owner. Oh yeah, we still have like Senior Pink's backstory. The one character that has like one of the most tragic backstories in the entire series is a man that is dressed as a baby. Oda had no right to give him such a tragic backstory. Oh yeah, Sabo's alive. The blonde boy in the post-war backstory, forgot to mention him, one of Luffy's brothers. Yeah, it turns out he's alive.
I thought you were dead. Nope.
I thought the tournament bit was like a little bit drawn out. Like the thing about like Dressrosa, there is so much going on that it was genuinely hard for me to keep track a lot of the time. The start of God Usopp, which was amazing, when he accidentally saves everyone from the toy lady. Bartolomeo, the official Luffy stan. Bartolomeo is just like me, for real, for real. Whenever I see Luffy, I pog, just like him. I see Monkey D. Luffy and I think, oh my god, Luffy senpai, please notice me. Gear 4. Now, when I first saw Bounce Man, out of context, I thought, what in God's name have they done to Luffy? A little bit before I actually started properly watching One Piece, I was like, what the fuck is this design? What is this transformation? What is any of this? I've actually grown to like really like Bounce Man, but it's like such a fucking weird transformation, dude. Overall, I think Dressrosa has so much stuff going on, it's hard to like really recap it all. I think I like it. I think it might be at like the top of A. I don't want to put it at S simply because I don't know. It felt like that there was like a little drawn out at times. Maybe it's because I was watching the anime. Maybe that might have been the case, but there was some parts that felt like it took forever to just like get to the point. But a lot of stuff that we got was still so good that I kind of look over those things. So yeah, I don't think it's quite an S, but I think it's at the top of A. I think Dressrosa is like really good. We're close, guys. We have 4 arcs left. We have 4 arcs left. Zoe felt like a nice breath of fresh air because it was a short arc. It was just like the setup for Whole Cake Island. I love this fucking horrifyingly giant elephant that is an entire island that's alive, but it's home to like the island of furries. And it introduces Wanda, which I'm still convinced she and Nami had a thing going on because they exchange clothes. And they say, oh, here in our village, we exchange clothes as a sign of friendship. And it's like, yeah. Is that the reason? Is that the reason? Oh yeah, it also introduces Carrot, which is great. I love Carrot. Carrot's adorable. Sanji's lore that made him more interesting. Turns out he's actually a prince. He belongs to a royal family of evil Power Rangers that all hate him. Oh yeah, it also introduces the red poneglyphs, which is the end game to One Piece. And I think that Zoe Island was actually a really cool setup for that. I think I'm gonna put it under Impel Down. Actually, Impel Down is gonna be at like the top of this. Dressrosa is gonna be under Impel Down, I think. Oh yeah, it also has Ryunosuke. R.I.P. Ryunosuke, the real MVP. I miss Ryunosuke every day. Ryunosuke died for our sins. Whole Cake Island, which I think deserves to be an S. Maybe at like the bottom of an S, but still an S. There's more of that drama that we had between Luffy and Sanji that feels pretty damn similar to the one that we had at Wano 7 with Luffy and Usopp. This was the arc that made me start to actually like Sanji again. Since Thriller Bark, I really did not see the appeal of his character until we got to Whole Cake Island. His backstory with his evil Power Rangers family. The entire family just kind of treats him like shit because he's just like a runt. Fucking locking him up in a dungeon. I actually felt like so bad for Kid Sanji. I really did. And I also loved when Sanji does eventually come back to Luffy. Luffy like eats the food that he made despite the fact that it's like, you know, ruined. And it reminds him of his mom because like Sanji was not a good chef as a kid, but his mom still loved and ate all of his cooking even if it was like deliberately bad. I actually like loved his and Luffy's relationship being more established on in this arc. It was great. And Pudding was great. Pudding being Sanji's quote-unquote bride-to-be who actually turned out to be kind of evil, but also not, because you know that she's just doing this to get her mom's approval. This is like the one time where I feel like Sanji actually deserves a woman. Aside from all of the Sanji drama, which is amazing, Brook has like a 1v1 against Big Mom, and that's also like a really cool highlight for me. He doesn't win, obviously, but like the fact that like Brook got like a copy of like the red poneglyph and challenged Big Mom 1v1. Brook didn't get nearly enough credit. I feel like not a lot of people actually really talk about that. Luffy versus Katakuri was hype as fuck. It also brought us Gear 4 Snake Man. It was just so fucking cool. It was cool. I love like the whole like mirror world fight. I love how Katakuri was like tough as shit to fight. And he's not even like a bad dude. I love Katakuri so much as a character. He's cool as fuck. And I hope that he comes back at some point. Oh yeah, it also has like Luffy learning how to use his like hockey to do future sight stuff. which was also really cool. Like, he had to learn that, like, during the fight. This felt like an apology letter for Sanji's character, because it actually made me start to like him again after all of the shit that he pulled in, like, all the previous arcs. So, yeah, I think it's fine staying at the bottom of S tier. It's still S tier. It's still really good. And then there's Reverie. Does this actually count? Because, like, I think it's actually, like, the shortest arc in the entire series. I think it's shorter than Romance Dawn, actually. Like, so much happens in it. Like, we get to see, like, Vivi again, and a bunch of other past characters. Emu? The really tall shadow dude? I think that's his name. I really don't know what the fuck his deal is. There's, like, the big old empty chair. The big empty chair surrounded by swords. What the fuck does that mean? The giant frozen straw hat? I still don't know what the fuck that means. It sets up like a lot of like cool mystery stuff. So I don't know if I want to put it in A. It's definitely not like a B, because it made me ask like a lot of fucking questions. Maybe I like the bottom of A. Maybe. I don't know. I might change my mind about that later. The last arc to talk about, Wano Country, the biggest arc of the entire series so far. It was like, what, 200 episodes in the anime? Jesus Christ, so much happens in this one. But I love it so much. I feel like it's like a better version of Dressrosa, in my opinion. I think it's definitely S tier. I just don't know where I want to place it. All right, let me actually talk about Wano first before we actually start placing it. This is the best animated arc so far. We've only seen so much of Egghead being animated as of this stream. Like, the animation is like so good, especially with Luffy's Gear 5. I'm gonna get more into that in a bit, but I feel like I should talk about everything else so far. I loved the lore with the Akazaya 9, the samurai that were all loyal to Odin, and I thought like Odin's backstory was like really cool, and I cried when he died. I knew that he I knew that he was going to die because he was dead the entire time. I was wondering what Kaido's whole deal was, because his whole thing was that he was too strong to die. He was literally just built too different to die. Which, like, at that point, why not just jump into the ocean? You have a dragon devil fruit, you would drown. I'm just saying, if you wanted to die, that would be the easiest solution to do so. Like, he wanted to be Joy Boy, but turns out he's fighting Joy Boy with Luffy, because turns out Luffy is a god. And I thought, this changes fucking everything. So Gear 5 is, in my opinion, one of the coolest anime transformations that I've ever seen. It's wacky cartoon physics, but Super Saiyan. He turns into a Tom and Jerry cartoon where he can just do basically whatever he wants. And it's actually so fucking cool. Yamato, the trans icon that we all love and deserve. He's great, but I feel like he was introduced a little too late into the story than I would have expected. Because like, before I actually started watching One Piece properly, I kept seeing posts about Yamato and how cool he was. I think that Yamato is really cool, but I think he was introduced so late into the story for me to really get like too attached to him. Because like, he's introduced in like the start of like Act 3, and like, I thought he was going to be introduced way earlier. That's why he was like a fan favorite. And don't get me wrong, I love Yamato, and I also love trans icon Okiku. Again, I just wish that Yamato had a lot more screen time, because really, Yamato doesn't really get to do a whole lot. Like, he gets to fight his dad for a bit. He has like a really sweet backstory with Ace, and he gets to fight the tree guy at the end of Wano. The Conjuro twist actually kind of shocked me when it happened. Like, when it turns out that he was actually like the trader who like sold him out. Like, I was actually like in shock of like, oh my god, wait, it was actually him? It's actually a really good twist, and I actually did not see it coming. It's really good. And I know that like Wano is like way too long of an arc. I know it's like really stretched out all the times, but I still really enjoy it. I think unlike Dressrosa, I can kind of forgive how long it is because of how much I enjoyed everything that went with it. So I think it should go above Marineford. And yeah, I think for now, that is my tier list. I don't know if anybody else has any like thoughts on this, if they would place things differently, but I think this is how I would rate things as of now. Of course, One Piece still has not ended yet as of this stream, but maybe eventually when it does end, I will come back and do this again, because I like talking about One Piece. All right, and that's the stream. This took, what, like 3 hours? Just about as much as I thought. So thank you folks so much for coming along and engaging with my bullshit. Thank you all for sitting through my One Piece ramblings. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Say the line, Luffy.
海賊王に